Just a quick little proviso that while we are cheerfully calling all vegans, the opinions and beliefs expressed by them do not always reflect our own.
Ah, this is the place. Time to learn a little cha-cha-cha. Our guest is someone I've admired since I was a young vegetarian turned vegan, animal and enviro and human rights activist and metalhead back in the 1980s. I've loved hard music since I was 10 years old. I would find something really heavy, but then would crave something more extreme, almost like needing to scratch an itch. Our guest band hit the spot. Their socially conscious, clever wordplay and spicy ideas have always made my brain feel bigger, and their blistering sound reverberated deep within my other organs. He's a history nerd whose band has definitely become a part of music history, and pardon the musical pun, he's also an instrument of change. I'm so pleased to welcome one of the most ethical frontmen on the planet, a real man who stands up for animals, the planet, and other humans, and whose last name is sort of a nominative determinism, Barney Greenway of the legendary Napalm Death to Calling All Vegans.
Hello. I can't really follow that introduction, to be honest. Yeah. But thank you.
Well, thank you. And a big thanks to your tour manager, Greg Daly, 25-year vegan, and Noel Peters of Inertia Entertainment, the jewel in Toronto's live music tiara. So listen to me, huh? Also, I have to tell you, my husband John is raging that he couldn't be here, but I guess one of us had to pay the bills today, right?
Sure.
So he changed his profile pic, his Facebook profile pic, out of deference to you. So there we go.
I'm far too unimportant in the real scheme.
For a man to change his profile?
Yeah.
Okay, Barney, were you a little boy who loved animals?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I guess where it comes from for me is I back then it was, I mean, this sounds really horrible, it was probably more acceptable to use spontaneous violence at all levels against animals, you know, and I just could never understand why that was acceptable, you know, to go after, because you have power, to go after something that cannot fight back, basically.
That's right,
you know? I just found that to be profoundly depressing, and just not becoming of anybody that calls himself a human being.
Here. That's the kind of kid I was, Can you kind of cast your mind back and do you remember maybe your first feat of animal activism?
Oh God, no. See, here's the thing. So, this might sound like semantics a little bit, but I never considered myself an activist because for me, activism, that idea of it, and again, I'm not being critical of people that, you know, would use that, but it's like, to me, it always seemed a bit like putting a coat on a coat hook, you know what I mean? It was like, there's my activism, I'll just take it up. But for me, it's 24/7, you know?
Yeah.
I always, it's not, which is not to say that, you know, I'm always like looking out the window to see who's doing what to the local cats, dogs, or whatever else, or foxes or something like that. But it's like riding a bike, you know, you always understand this is another sentient being. Yeah. So you will never put yourself in a situation where you would endanger that sentient being, you know. That's my thing, really, you know.
Well, I was a kid, I mean, from when I was a toddler, I mean, I was freaking out if people stepped on ants and things like that. So it's always just been, I suppose it's like having a vegan heart, or you're wired that way.
But there's another side of it as well, though, that people don't very often speak about. That I also believe that, you know, humans not only shouldn't be cruel to animals, they also should not interfere in natural habitats and stuff. So I think that I always use this example because it's quite a stark one. So when, for example, at the poles, when penguins are migrating across the ice floes, you know, there was there was a couple of situations where people that were there rescued penguins that had gone into a ditch that basically would freeze to death.
Yeah.
I don't think you should do that.
Yeah, I hear
because
what you're
that
saying.
interrupts the
I
natural
might
flow.
be that person though. You know what I mean? I
What
can't
we've
bear
got
it.
to be really careful
Exactly.
about that we don't put.
I get you.
We are humane to animals, but we don't humanise the processes of evolution.
Yeah.
Because it's really important that animals evolve
Yeah.
to their own characteristics.
That's a
That
good way of
we
looking at it,
don't
yeah.
humanise them too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
So
certainly
you'd always
does.
be humane, but be careful not to humanise their habits too much.
Yeah,
So
because
not
they're the
human
experts
beings.
at being
Yeah,
themselves,
exactly.
not
That's
us,
a,
right?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, definitely.
So as I said, I was always an animal advocate, but my defining vegetarian moment was viewing of the Animals film. I don't know if you ever saw that. Victor Schoenfeld back in 1986.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to accommodate my new ethical diet, I put away a lot of fries, grilled cheese sandwiches, and beer. Now, you were just a 14-year-old boy when you took this stance. What in particular inspired you, or was it kind of cumulative and
There's
inevitable?
one specific moment, and it's very clear even now to this day. So, my primary school, which is what we call junior school, I don't know what in Canada what you call like the like 5 to 11 years old.
I guess
or
elementary school, yeah.
So they were very, very open-minded about generally. It was a really good experience, being at that school. Whitecrest School in Great Bar, state school, So they, the one day, as they did back then, they had the old school property TV on a TV stand with a video player underneath it, a VCR. And so we had a lesson on animals, and stuff and things that people would never see, and so they showed a video of an abattoir, which at that time you would never see that stuff. I'm talking about probably 1979, something like that. And I was just like,
Bam.
straight up, something snapped inside my mind, and I was like, I do not want to support this. I cannot have any part of this as a human being.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to move towards, not
Doing the right thing.
not eating meat,
Yeah.
and then it was steps from there really, not wearing leather.
Yeah. I know, because you just keep becoming aware of all these layers.
Yeah.
And you don't realize how systemic
No, you don't.
animal abuse is.
Yeah, and you don't learn it all at once.
No.
It's a gradual process.
Yeah. What about any other kids in the class? Did any of them?
I couldn't speak for any of the other people really. I just know how profoundly it affected me.
Yeah.
And I remember going home and telling my mum and dad, I said, I'm not eating meat anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm tapping out, Ma.
Yeah, I can't. And Mum was like, what are you talking about?
Oh, wow.
I mean, don't forget, England was and is the veritable birthplace of vegetarianism.
sure.
But even at that time, it was a very niche. I knew where the health food stores was. They were like all the, but it was never publicised. So yeah, for me, it wasn't even a movement. It was just something that I had to do for myself at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I know. When I saw that film, the Animals film,
Yeah.
on the spot,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
So there are countless ways to stand up for animals and to make a difference, but having a celebrity platform is a very powerful tool to influence followers and fans. Do you see your music as a form of animal activism, and what kind of success have you had in normalizing and moving the needle for animals?
I mean, I've written, like Napalm songs tend to be very, we use a lot of sort of comparison and similes and sort of imagery, so it's not always literal, so it does require a little digging down, but that's fine. I've written occasional songs directly, about certain aspects of animal exploitation, but I obviously have to kind of, in the band setting, it's a collective, so I have to kind of be mindful to not you know,
just bulldoze them.
Yeah, not bulldoze across everything. So it's a tricky balancing act.
Yeah.
But then, of course, when we're doing interviews like this, other things, I'm able to more hammer the point home, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to upset them, right? If
Yeah.
you sleep and then, you know, you wake up and they've shaved your eyebrows off or something.
Well, yeah. But the thing is about, you say the word celebrity. Now, there's two things to say about that. I don't consider myself that. And I never did. Yeah, but I mean,
well, you know, let's say
that's not
the
my
original
culture.
meaning of it was like the local grocer or whatever in the neighborhood. So we'll do it like that.
Well, the other thing to say about it is that when you go, for me, I've always been mindful of to not make it about myself.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. I'm a cog in the machinery, if you like, for want of a better sort of phrase. What's important is the end game, which is animal liberation. What I do, sure, it's greasing the wheels, but it's not about me. Do you know what I mean?
And it's about them.
I've always tried to put that across. It's not about me. It's about them. You know, it always in any kind of sort of move towards change, whatever it might be. It's always about the end game. You know, it can be quite easy to get caught up in the and I don't mean this to sound, you know, too critical again, but it's not about self-aggrandization. You know, it's about the end game. That's really got to keep your eye on that ball. You know.
Absolutely, so, yeah. You start to, so many people let their ego get in there, and then that's when things.
It's the same with many things in life. It's not exclusive to this what we're talking about now. You know, it's also in art. Art can suffer, you know, for too heavily inflated egos. It can be toxic. You know,
True. Is there a specific animal issue that really resonates with you, like whether it's vivisection or animal agriculture or fur trade?
Well, I think the biggest thing is let's look at the major things.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is sustainable agriculture, because that affects the whole world. Right. You know, so we really have to sort that out. You know, because.
But ka-ching, all those dollar signs and
but that's not everything. That only goes so far. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's fairly good science now to say that, like cattle farming, sheep farming, etc., is not sustainable for the environment. The emissions, the toxification of the land through effluent and runoff.
Desertification.
Through effluent and runoff waste from the animals. You know, this is not sustainable.
It's creating ocean acidification, deforestation.
Absolutely. It's polluting rivers. You know, and it's polluting rivers as much as industrial chemicals are right now. The runoff from intensive farming and agriculture, it has to change. You know, you can't carry on with this, because this is a threat to the planet now as much as other things are. So that's the real big thing, you know. But I think couple of things that you mentioned there. So fur farming, completely unnecessary. That's a vanity project. Yeah. And again, it's about making fur suppliers and farmers, mink farmers and such like. Well, actually the mink farmers are the people who don't benefit from it. That's the irony, you know. It's the middlemen. And same as in a lot of industries, coffee, you know, it's always the middlemen, you know, and the big corporations and companies. So I would like to see a complete worldwide ban on fur farming, because it's fucking unnecessary, you know.
Well, we're actually, Canada's kind of in the process of doing that, and we got kind of an in, because you always have to speak to how it relates to humans, like how it impacts humans, because most people don't care about the animal themselves, but because of COVID, because there was such a spillover from minks to humans, and humans back to minks.
I'm
you're going to trash the joint, huh?
Sorry, But
he's moshing already.
But you know, but it's actually, one thing that does come before that is because we're talking in this conversation quite a bit. There's a wider sort of thing to this. Really, it's about environmental protection, and the land is one thing, but what people don't understand, the seas are really in danger. Actually, you could arguably more so than the land right now, and so the stripping down of the seas in terms of the wildlife within the seas, that has to stop. I mean, overfishing right now is a huge problem, and it's about to tip the balance of the seas not being able to replenish themselves again.
That's right.
That really has to
Yeah,
stop,
that's really what they mean by saying the empty oceans by 2050.
Yeah.
They're saying that they can't, there's not that ability to...
For them to
sustain or thrive
to replenish themselves, you know. And once the wildlife disappears out of the seas, it affects the chemical balance of the seas. And once the seas die, which they will if they go over a certain... then we die.
Yeah.
Because you can live on a landmass that's surrounded by sea. If the sea is dead, you are not going to last very long. That's that simple, you know. Everything's in a chain of existence, you know. So the sea is really vital, I think. That's before anything else. They have to stop fishing in the seas and let the seas replenish.
Well, and look, we're sitting here eating this
Oh,
amazing
look at this,
vegan
magnificent.
sushi. Like, we'll have a look at it.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about something specific to the UK, fox hunting. You know.
Oh, that's
although it was actually banned, they allowed things called trail hunting, where they have a trail, like a scented lure. But see, hunters are not stupid. You know, what they will do is they will conveniently take the trail hunts past known foxholes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, of course, what are the dogs going to do if they smell foxes? They're going to still go into the holes. Oh, it was an accident that this dog took a fox over.
Oh, for God's sake. Did we just fall off the turnip trap?
Yeah, exactly. Huh? You know, so I would like complete ban on hunting in the UK. That means fox, birds, everything, anything.
I'm
sure
I'm not going to argue with you.
I'm sure none of us
kind of preaching to the choir here. Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, how people can call that a sport. I mean, for me, a sport, you need to be, both parties need to know they're even in the game, right? And they have to have buy-in, right?
Consenting,
I would say, Otherwise, you're sitting there in your lawn chair in your backyard and somebody blows you away. Well, just a sport, right?
No, it's total crap, you know.
Now, kids love school trips. At what age is it appropriate that they visit a slaughterhouse? I actually knew your abattoir story, so that's why I threw this one in
For
here.
me?
Yeah.
Any age.
Yeah, good.
I think it's really important that people know. You know, if you're gonna make kids eat sausage and bacon on a weekend, just for argument's sake, then I've always been you should know where your food comes from.
Yeah. Why are you not afraid to show your kid where an apple comes from, right?
Yeah, exactly the point. You know, so.
Yeah.
Very simple to my answer to that one.
Now, Napalm has stood the test of time. Each gig, you look out into a sea of both dewy and craggy, or we'll say more vintage or more mature faces. Not myself, right? But how's it feel getting back in front of an audience now?
Yeah, it's good, man. You know, it's I mean, I to be honest, during the lockdowns that we had in the UK, it wasn't too bad for me because I've got no dependents. So, and I'm really lucky. I live near the coast. Oh, nice. So I would take my bike out every day, my bicycle, and I felt really at peace, actually, you know. Yeah. But coming back into it, it was at first like weird, like, oh, what am I supposed to do, you know? But I soon got back into it.
Just start throwing yourself around.
Yeah,
that's all you gotta do. Yeah.
I mean, the main thing for me is reconquering the stage fright, because I've always suffered from stage fright. Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. You know, so that was true. That first gig back, I was an absolute gibbering wreck. You know, so it was pretty brutal.
Oh, I feel bad.
It's
Well, I know, because I'm very nervous in any kind of situation like that. Yeah.
It's hard to believe. We're so used to seeing you, in charge of the
Yeah,
stage.
but that time before I go on stage, I'm fucking all over the place.
So
sometimes.
you could understand me sweating a bit when I was ready to sit down and talk to you.
No, I do get it. Yeah, I get that sort of reluctance a little bit more.
Yeah.
So what is the process behind building a song? What does Barney in the studio look like?
Well, I kind of isolate myself. Going back to the themes of isolation, I to write lyrics, my part of it, I really need to be lock myself at home, kind of take the phone out of the wall, the landline, and
I wouldn't expect
and close
anything
the
less.
blinds, because I need ultimate concentration, because when I write songs, I try not to use maybe generic sort of words and wordplay. I try to always think a little wider, and that can take some time, sometimes. But I try my best, So yeah.
Damn, you can rhyme just about anything.
Well, there's many
big words.
There's many words in the English language that have not been used, And it's like the sound spectrum. It's there. Fucking use it.
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned.
That's something I noticed specifically with the British bands. They seem to be more literary minded.
I'm not sure about that. I just think that it's just, you just need to apply yourself, It's not for everybody, it can be a real struggle, for people who are going to do that sort of thing. And it's not easy for me, I can sit there sometimes and take 3 days over a set of lyrics and a song that's like barely a minute and a half, But then other days I could write a whole song in 2 hours. So it's all about just the luck of the draw,
That's right, yeah.
Day, so.
Do you do any other writing, like creative writing as an outlet or anything like that?
Well, it's all in Napalm, to be honest.
Okay,
I mean, I used to. I'm a big fan of creative writing and stuff. I'm a big, literary nerd and stuff like that. So yeah, I people encourage me to do it a lot more, but I've always been the sort of person where I'll do it. I need that flow of inspiration.
Yeah, when the creative juice is flowing.
Yeah, and otherwise I don't go into something trying to force myself to do it, because the results.
I think that kills the creativity then, right?
If you're forcing yourself, it's never going to be as good, I don't think.
Yeah.
So can you please give a quick description of the recently released mini album, Resentment is Always Seismic?
Yeah.
Final Froze.
Yeah, so that was actually part of the album sessions for Throes of Joy and the Jewels of Defeated. So which has disappeared down the back of the case. And it was just that those songs, there was nothing inferior about them compared to the ones that did actually appear on the album. They were just not quite in context of the flow of what it was. So then, we'd always want to put it, like back in the day, like punk hardcore gigs that we used to go to, you would maybe go to see a band play and you'd go to like the record distro that was there and you'd pull out a mini album that you didn't even know had come out. You'd be like, oh, shit, I didn't even know about this.
Those
so
were
we
the
kind of wanted
days.
to do the same thing. So this kind of came out to a lot less fanfare than what you usually get with Napalm, and it was kind of on purpose, So.
Yeah, it's like finding a little gem, right, that you weren't expecting.
I love that. I used to love that, when I was going to gigs back in the day.
Yeah, and full respect to Shane on Narcissus on there. My God, like that was crazy.
That concrete mix of bass at the start.
And just with a little nod to the lyrics, dare I ask if the reference to was to the orange fellow in the U.S.?
Could have been, but it was
maybe.
Actually, the first references I remember. See, that song is about basically egocentrics, but off the scale,
Oh yeah, so, megalomaniacs.
Yeah, so if you remember, there was a thing a couple of years ago about this so-called alt-right, which was like more savvy kind of ultra-conservative kind of, narrative, And there was one guy, and the irony of it was this guy was like very visibly gay, you know. So he was the complete antithesis of this ultra conservative sort of thing, but he was completely like the things that would like really racist stuff, you know, that would come out of his mouth. And as I studied this guy a little bit, because I like to know, you know, what make people tick, it seemed to me like it was less about the crazy shit he was saying and more about the fact that it was making him a celebrity, you know.
Yeah, this populism is out of control.
And it was actually, as far as I understand it, he was making a ton of money, you know, from this like YouTube stuff that he was doing. So it was kind of it was less about his integrity and more about, you know, his ego feeding this media machine, you know, which is a lot of that outright stuff was, you know, it was a big media.
Well, yeah, it's like this, people are getting entertained by this as well. It's ridiculous.
Whilst poisoning people's minds, you know, with crazy separatist bullshit. You know, to me, in my humble opinion.
No, I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
So what is the secret to Napalm's longevity between the members and kind of keeping the bromance alive between you guys?
You know, I think being a band's are much like they are social experiments. You know, they really are, because
kind of a microcosm of the real world.
I've always said it. You know, bands are just a microcosm of the world outside. There's no. People can put bands on pedestals as much as they like, you know, but in the end, this is just the same as the people that are walking outside of there. You know, they have their ways and means, they have their desires, they have their dislikes, they have their habits, the whole thing, you know. Yeah. So it's no different. And the difference is with the band is that you are very often living in either small spaces of some description, whether it's a dressing room, whether it's a van, whether it's on a plane, you know, whether it's wherever it might be, and you have to learn meeting people halfway, you know, because otherwise you would just like get into each other all the time.
It would drive me crazy because I'm an introvert and I like my space. I like my time, and I feel like if I'm around people too much, it just kind of sucks the juice out of me. You know, you got to recharge and just get away from people. That's tricky. My thing.
It's tricky. You know, you really have to learn it. It was not easy for me. You know, I've had my moments, you know, where I've wanted to just absolutely fucking just go really nuts on somebody, you know. Yeah. But people say, I've heard it said about certain very high profile bands, oh, you know, well, that really helped their creative process. It's fucking miserable, you know what I mean? It's nothing good about that, you know. You know, conflict is not a good thing, you know. It's a part of human nature that is sadly, you know, all too still pervasive, you know, and it's not a good thing.
would prefer to avoid conflict if I can, right? Sure. So, that would be too much for me. I'm really fortunate to have been a teen and an early 20-something during the 80s. It was really a great time for an aggressive music-loving kid to be alive, and then all the other new sounds that were coming out from all these other bands during that decade and into the 90s. What's the secret sauce with Napalm that compelled you to join them?
You know, well, it was the music and the ideas. That thing was perfect foil for me, you know. Yeah. And I never expected to be asked to join. It's just I was in the right place at the right time, you know. And they liked what I did with my other band, and we just went for it. There was no rehearsals and nothing like that. We just went for it, you know. And the rest is history, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really how it was, you know.
That's good. You guys always do great covers of songs. I do have to say I have a soft spot for Incinerator because, not just because they're Canadian but also because Dave Hewson is a friend of mine. So he sends his best. So I said that I would mention that. So.
Slaughter, what a band. I mean, see, here's the thing. So I'm very selective about metal and stuff. I'm actually not a huge metalhead, you know. I prefer more
hardcore.
Punk and hardcore.
Yeah, that's me. Hardcore's my first.
Yeah, but I do like. Don't get me wrong. I do like some classic metal stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Slaughter was just a great. They were
like a crossover.
Well,
I
yeah,
thought.
they were kind of fitted the death metal mold. It wasn't even called that back
Yeah.
then, really, but they were just insanely raw. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, raw like nothing else. And
They
that's
say
what
it's
I
because they didn't know how to play their instruments. So
yeah, that's what I really loved about them. I mean, then bands like Godflesh, you know, were doing covers of the stuff, and there's a reason why, because it was fucking raw.
Yeah.
That early Slaughter stuff sounds
For sure.
fucking raw
Yeah.
to this day. You know?
So with your anti-religious stance and your social justice agenda, are there some places on the earth that don't exactly throw down the welcome mat?
You know,
for
I'm not
napalm?
anti-religious, I will say
Oh,
that.
okay, sorry.
I'm not anti-religious. What I am is anti-religion
Being in society.
adopted, co-opted into civic
Yeah, I gotcha, yeah.
situation.
Yeah, like people can have their private
They can
beliefs,
absolutely.
but don't bring it out.
They can absolutely have their private beliefs.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like a religion is part of the establishment.
I would
but,
not
yeah.
wish to question their private beliefs at all. But when you try and clamp it onto the side of everyday existence in social situations where, you know, like a social structure is necessary for people to survive, you know, I'm sorry, but religion with its mythological basis can have no solid part in that, because it's not offering any solutions. It's just offering stories and theories. It's not offering concrete assistance to people that really need
the Bible
it, you
and
know?
these other holy, I mean, cool story, bro. Like they're
Yeah.
kind of like a novel,
Yeah.
you know, and people,
It's a
there
great
were
novel.
different collaborators and stuff. Yeah, it's a good story.
But it was
and
written
it's
by
full of
people.
symbolism and stuff.
Yeah,
but-
it was written by people that thought it sounded good. There
Yeah.
is no, and people keep saying, yeah, well, the Bible, it has basis. Yeah, it has basis in the sense it's a story, like any story.
Yeah.
What do you want me to tell you? You know?
Yeah. Like a fairy tale.
Yeah, it's a fairy tale, you know, any religious
Well, with
book.
with things based in some, you know, real stuff that happened, and then other stuff where they just embellished and symbolized.
I mean, you
and-
know, all religious books are, you
Yeah.
know, and so yeah, I have no problem. I you know, and I'm not. Well, people that are religious, you know, one of my really good friends from the States is Christian, you know, and I don't give a shit whether he's Christian or not. He's my friend. I
Yeah,
love
of
him,
course.
you know what I mean? So it's not that. It's more when the
when it pervades in society.
certain countries in the world have very, very their whole social foundation is anchored in religion, and that's very destructive. You know, it's very destructive. So
Slippery slope there.
so yeah.
So fanzines and homemade cassette tapes were an integral part of the 80s and 90s metal, punk, and hardcore scene. What would have been your perfect tape mix as a 14-year-old, let's say?
Oh, God, now you're talking.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, let me think. I would say, well, let's keep the Canada theme. I'd say Voivod. They have to be on there, you know.
Yes.
I mean, to me, here's the thing about Voivod. I cannot understand how a band with that much natural creativity to that degree can not be much bigger than what they are. I
Yeah.
just don't
know.
understand it. When you
That's
compare
how
it
it
to some
goes,
other
huh?
bands,
I
on
know.
from a personal point of view, you know,
Oh, I
never
love them.
understood it, you know.
Yeah.
And absolute sweethearts as well, it has to be said. You
Oh,
know.
really?
They are
Oh, I've
great.
never
they
met
are
them.
wonderful people, you know. So Voivod, I would say bands like Die Kreuzer, US band, who are actually very similar to Voivod. in
Yeah,
a
I
lot
don't
of
know
ways.
them. I don't know.
I would say the obvious one's GBH
Oh.
from where I
There
live.
we go.
Discharge. Bands like Deep Wound, you
Yum,
know,
yum.
Jay Mascis, Dinosaur Jr., his band. Killing Joke, Sonic Youth. Next ones.
Yeah, we would have got along okay, I think. Yeah, back then.
Yeah, all the really good stuff.
You guys had a tour together at Voivod. It was one of the best shows I've been to.
We've done a few
Great
tours with
pairing.
Voivod. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love them. I love that band so much, man. They're so great.
Barney and Voivod sitting in a tree.
Yeah.
K-I-S.
Hey man, you know what? I can't. I'm not one for overly gushing about bands, but I think what they do with their music is just
Seems a
nobody
shame
else has
that-
ever dreamt that up. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's just,
I mean,
I totally agree
Yeah,
with you.
you know,
Totally agree.
there's so many layers to Voivod.
Yeah.
You can listen to it. You can listen to one of their albums for 2 decades, and you will still find something new in there. You know, that you never thought you'd do.
Geez, I'm going to have to haul out my vinyl again tonight and
And
give them another spin.
their whole catalogue though is good. There's not,
Yeah.
to me, there's not a bad thing in there as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and they always took risks too. They were
Yeah.
very experimental. Like no one album is
Yeah,
the same
no.
as the last. That's
I
for
mean,
sure.
that's-
So you knew
that's-
that was
That's always been a thing for Napalm. Why do you want to make the same album twice on purpose?
yeah.
What's the point of that? You know, I think people their ideas just run dry a little
Yeah.
bit, you know, and I mean,
So again, because I'm Canadian, I feel compelled to bring up Jim Carrey and an interview he did many years ago when he talked about his newfound fascination with Napalm Death. I don't know if you're aware
I've
of
seen
it.
it,
Yeah.
the-
Where he
what's
mimics
it?
your vocals and
Yeah,
everything.
it is really funny to be
Yeah.
fair.
There's this one band out that's called Napalm Death, and it's so hilarious. I mean, I listened to this album. I started listening to this album, and it was literally, I'm not exaggerating, that was it.
He does say, you know, someday this guy's going to want to slow down and do some duets. How likely is that to happen?
Sure, I'll do a duet with somebody.
Who do you want to do it?
Whether it would be the kind of duet that, you know, that
Yeah.
people traditionally would think of. Yeah, of course. You know, I mean, you know.
Well, do you have like a dream collaboration then, or to do a duet?
I would. You know, if the most ambient, like band or whoever, you know, even like the Cocteau Twins or something. Do you know the Cocteau Twins?
No, I don't. Who am I?
It's like it was like a female, very ambient band back in the day. This is the thing. I know it might sound a bit mad to some people, but taking risks, you never know what you can achieve when you take risks, you know. So
Yeah.
anything is possible.
Exactly. Absolutely. So you obviously have to have a pretty high fitness level to exert the energy
Yeah.
you do on stage. What's your favorite way to stay in shape? And did you see a change in your an improvement in your stamina after you went plant-based?
Well, first of all, cardio, just general cardio is my thing. I do a lot of biking. We already kind of mentioned it. Do a lot of endurance biking around by where I live. That's my main thing. I love to run. I used to run for my school, you know, in terms of like cross country,
Wow.
so mixed terrain.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I've got a calf injury from the gym a few years ago, and it fucking drives me crazy because it's great, it's fine now. I could go out running for a week, and I love it. And then on the 7th day, you can set your watch by it. It'll tear the muscle at the back. And you probably know, you know, being a gym person, if you get certain things, they never go away because they scar. They get scar tissue, and it rips again, you know.
Yeah.
So I can never get that to heal. Every time I think it's going well. I'll be out running and I'll just pull up because it's
Well, what do they
ripped.
say? The definition of insanity, right? Doing that
Yeah,
same thing
yeah,
over
yeah.
and over and expect a different outcome.
But when it's something you love doing,
I'm teasing.
when it's something you love doing like that, obviously you're going to push yourself to see if you're confident, you know, that you can do it. But it's such a shame because I love it. I love running so much, you know. So those are my two things. I should do.
Were you
more.
running from the cops as a lad? Here,
Well,
let's just
well,
open
let's not
this thing
talk
right
about
up.
that. Yeah, but no, I mean, I unfortunately I can't really do it. But yeah, I need to. Trouble is, I'm quite lean right now, but I kind of need to do a bit of muscle work because I've kind of neglected that. So I need to do that really when
I'd rather be trim.
Yeah.
It's good to be trim.
Yeah.
So I used to think the advent of the internet and particularly social media were the game changers for animals, the planet, and other social justice issues, and that it would make the world a better place. But in this current climate of conspiracy theories and fake news and this right-wing populism and nationalism that's just taking, getting a toehold across the globe, is this medium now doing more harm than good?
No, I don't. See, I'm neutral on this,
Okay.
I have to be honest, because I think everything...
That's okay, that's what I'm interviewing you, not me.
Everything can find its space, And I think people have to be very careful. I think... I totally get it, of course, how destructive social media can be, but we should never lose sight of it's one of the forums that hasn't been strangled, by intervention, from powerful entities. Although, of course, the companies themselves own the space, but the art of expression like that is a valuable thing. So I don't think we should wish for.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of censorship, I must admit.
No.
So.
And even though things I might find personally, not particularly easy to stomach, I still think we have to be very careful, what we wish for.
Yeah,
So.
That's right. So life in the Anthropocene. It amazes me that humans have made it this far in the evolutionary cycle. We're so self-destructive and destructive. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has released its most dire report yet and issued a code red for humanity. I'm not quoting albums in case this just happened naturally.
I get it.
If climate change doesn't wind up extincting us and all the other beings who we're going to take down with us, will we ever see humans living in harmony? And I'm not talking corruption or anything, with the natural world and other species rather than just dominating them.
We can. It's an absolute
we have
possibility.
to.
Yeah, we have to.
That's the thing.
We have to. Yeah, we have to. It depends, because, you kind of look at the COP26 and all the associated stuff, and you kind of think to yourself, I have my fucking doubts about this.
And they're serving, they were serving animals to, on the menu. It's like, come on, that's just 101 that you wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. So amongst other things, So it's like, I mean, we have to, you're right, So I think we just have to see. I mean, I can't give a better answer than that, really. We have to hope that sense prevails in the end and that, things go in the right direction.
Well, good old humans, huh?
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead?
This one, yeah. So, are you friends with other vegans in the metal scene? I know lately we've had a few others coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I know a few people sitting there right now on the spot. I can't remember.
No pressure.
But I mean, the singer from Arch Enemy is also vegan as well.
Yeah, I had her on the show before.
The previous one also.
Yeah, the previous one also. So there's those guys.
Well, definitely Tom Fish. Tom G. Ward.
Yeah, Tom Fisher. Yeah. Who else?
But they're your friends with them, though. That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, you did tour with Creator and Millie.
Millie, yeah. There's quite a few people, and of course, loads of people in the punk scene and stuff. It's always one of the things where you're on the spot and you're just like, who, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get a piece of sushi.
Yeah.
Can go either way
here. Yeah.
Whatever way you want it to go.
Yeah.
So this is a long question. I don't even know if I should ask it because it's so long.
Go for it.
All right, I'll go. Here, you go away. You go ahead and nibble on something.
No.
All right. Globally, each year, we slaughter nearly 80 billion land animals for food, more than 90% of them in factory farms. They're living in cramped and filthy conditions with weakened immune systems. These places are just disease incubators for viruses to flourish, mutate, and jump to humans. These animals are not social distancing. And this doesn't even include the trillions of sea animals we kill around the globe annually. As tragic as it's been, is there a silver lining to the pandemic whereby people wake up from their trance and become proactive to avoid this happening again, like some kind of H5N1 situation, by making plant-based eating the new normal, or are they going to continue on with their willful ignorance, solution aversion, apathy, etc.?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think time will tell, you know. I mean, it's really interesting.
Well, you guys are 5 hours ahead in the UK, right? You should know this, right?
Yeah,
like you're in the
ahead of
future,
time,
so let us know. Like,
it was really interesting during the pandemic that in England we had some rehabilitation of land. Animals
those
moved
videos
in.
with animals just like walking down city streets.
Yeah, they moved in and started to make like lodgings, you know, within things.
Yeah.
So it was a great thing, you know. But of course, there was lots of talk during, you know, when this is over, we're going to be a bit more thankful of our surroundings. And honestly, I see not very much evidence that as was being spoken about of that happening.
I almost feel like it, you know, when you need to cram for, like you've had 2 weeks to, you know, study for something, let's say, and then you always cram right at the end. So I'm wondering if people are just going to like just keep kind of riding it out, like we'll coast, and then at the end, they'll just go for it and try. I hope. That's the best we can hope for. Have you ever heard of? I think his name's Steve Cuthbert. When you were saying about the animals coming out, he's the one who did that video called Man. It's like an animation. You'll have to watch it. It's so good. It's amazing, and he has different ones in the series, like where he does like a pandemic one.
No, I'm not seeing.
It's amazing. Anyway, so you got a bit of a wig going today, but when and why did you decide to cut your hair? You used to have
a... this thing.
I mean, like from back in the day.
No. I mean, I just kind of different things at different times, you know. Times like right now, I got my mum to book me an appointment.
I got scissors there in the drawer.
The guy that always cuts, he needs like layering and stuff. Cause it's like my hair's so thick, it's like a fucking doormat on top of my head right now. So I have to go back and get it cut. But yeah, it's just how the mood takes me. Sometimes I'll get it cut, I'll be like, I just want to grow it out, you know. And then other times I'll go, this is getting really fucking annoying now, you know, just get it cut, you know. So how the mood takes me is how the mood takes. I'm sure it's the same for everybody.
Well, I've had the same haircut since I was a little kid, right? Like I've got the kindergarten bangs, and like I've had them quite a bit shorter, and I ended up looking like Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber. You know, like with their way up.
Fair enough,
so I understand you're a big time reader. I'm all about facts and gathering knowledge. Like I'm documentaries. I don't like. I have heard you're not a fiction person, but is there a particular book or documentary that kind of stands head and shoulders above the rest?
Yeah, I'm reading one at the moment actually. It's a biography of Khrushchev, you know, the Soviet leader.
Oh yeah.
And it's really good, man. It goes back to his early years, you know, and he was in conflict with Stalin, and you know, there are certain things that he wanted to do to make people not as oppressed. But then he didn't want to get, because Stalin was obviously quite keen to disappear people that didn't agree with him, like to the letter of the law.
Such a lovely
man. So it's really interesting dynamic, you know. So that's what I'm reading right now. That's a really awesome book.
It sounds like it's about this fat.
It's huge.
It's big? Okay.
It's huge. It's nearly... I'm just thinking right now, it's probably in the region of like 1,500 pages.
This is Murphy. Do you have any, well, you said you have no dependents, so I guess no companion animals or anything?
No, because I wouldn't do it, you know. Yeah. I mean, the thought of leaving something behind.
Yeah.
And how that animal might feel, you know. I don't want to do that, you know. Fuck that.
I should have known. Now, here I was expecting you to like, you know, start peeling off all these pictures.
Yeah, no way. Right. No,
would it be weird if I carried a picture of you?
Yeah. No, once I'm at some point in my life where I'm a bit more based, I have a bit more permanence.
Yeah.
then of course I will.
Oh, that'd be nice.
But
yeah.
right now,
No, I
not
totally
viable.
agree. That
Yeah.
would be, yeah.
I mean, animals get very attached to human beings, and I think that's...
well,
then-
you're
then-
their parent.
Yeah,
right?
and then separating yourself in
Oh,
at
yeah.
one fell swoop. The psychological thing, I think, would be quite
No.
damaging.
Yeah,
Could
good
be
for you.
quite
Well,
damaging.
could,
yeah,
yeah.
for them, you know.
Yeah. Not to mention you missing your little baby at
Yeah.
home and doing FaceTime with them. And
In
stuff.
as much as I try, as we were speaking about, in as much as I try not to humanise animals, because actually I feel that they are their own independent entity, you know. So I'm not actually one for humanising
Yeah,
animals.
but I mean, they do share a lot
No,
of our
sure.
same emotions and
yes,
feelings.
absolutely,
Of course,
yeah. But the thought of like the separation after you've spent so much time with them, for me, doesn't sit right.
No,
you know, it
that's
doesn't.
good.
You know.
You're all right.
Has your veganism encouraged your bandmates to make more animal-friendly choices? Does it rub off?
Well, I mean, like one or two of the guys, like Shane used to be vegetarian many years ago, but he just moved on from that, you know. I mean, yeah, because vegan food's around so much, they will try it if I've got it. And isn't it strange how people, and this goes for a lot of things in life, without trying something, and people just they come to a
Just
conclusion
dismiss
about
it,
something
yeah.
that's so far off the mark. And like Danny the drummer particularly will try stuff sometimes. I'll be like, shit, this is really good. I would have never have thought, you know. It's like, Danny, I tried to tell you it's really good, man. I tried to get you to taste it before, you know, and you were like, oh, no. And now there you go.
Yeah.
Say no more, you know.
Yeah.
I will say this though, I mean, obviously this is for everybody to decide for themselves. You know, like with any diet, you can get really junky with it, you know.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I don't want to do that, you know.
Yeah.
I do like treats and stuff, but I prefer to eat healthy.
Yeah, that's
you know.
where I'm heading. You
Yeah.
know, that's my goal.
Yeah,
now.
see, a lot of the fake, like the replacement meats, they taste great, of course, and the most important thing is you're not killing an animal for
Yeah.
that. But they can be quite junky, you know, so you just do have to be careful, you know, with how much of that stuff you're eating. Because
Yeah.
it's still salt, you know, it's
For
still
sure.
processed, you know, so.
Yeah. So this may feel like a parent choosing their favorite child, but is there a particular song or album of which you're most fond?
I always find the things like that really hard to slim down to one. I mean, Throws of Joy album, I think, was just a culmination of everything, that tying together many different perspectives musically into songs that were cohesive. Whereas maybe in the past we'd have done songs in different styles from our different influences, but they would have been separate songs.
Right.
We're better now, I think, at fusing all the elements, to my mind anyway. So yeah, the Throws of Joy album, definitely. But then going back a little bit, also things like Utopia Banished album, which was the second album that I did with the band. And it was just such a fun album to make. You know, really simply that. It was just it was just very spontaneous, it flowed really well, felt really good, and it's really fun to make.
Sounded good too, so.
Still my favorite. Still those favorite. Just love that album.
Oh, you've already answered the question.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask you now. While you're on tour, is there any opportunity to kind of get out and about in cities? And
There's always opportunity.
and
You just
if
got to
so-
get your legs fucking walking out
There
the
you
door.
go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
have you been able to wander around a bit in Toronto?
not today
Yeah.
because you know Toronto's always a little tricky because it's always after we've come from the border,
Oh.
and the border
okay.
can be fun and games
Bit
sometimes.
exhausting,
You know,
yeah.
so you tend to not. Although when we played that other gig in Toronto, the theatre, the
Opera
Phoenix?
House? Oh, Phoenix.
Voir?
the opera house.
Oh,
That
yes.
little area there is really nice, you know. I've walked around the independent
Oh,
stores. Am I
yeah.
thinking the
It's
right?
a village kind of.
Yeah.
So what's the most vegan city, would you say? Like,
Well, I live in it almost.
there you
Brighton. Brighton in the UK, I would suggest is the most vegan city in the world,
Oh.
actually, yeah. Well, I think it's fair to say that UK was really the focal point for veganism. And Brighton is, put it like this, it's the only place in the country with a green MP, you know.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so that kind of tells you where it's going, you know. It's, Brighton is very, very
nice.
vegan centric, you know. So. And it's I live 8 miles from there, so it's
You
great.
just take a walk into town?
Yeah,
or
go on the
bike into
train.
town?
Go on the train. It's
Yeah.
20 minutes, and they've got like, you may have heard of Vegetarian Shoes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where it is in Brighton. The
Oh,
shop
that's
is in
great.
Brighton, yeah. So it's not far from me.
Very
you know.
good.
So the roots of metal tend to be about bucking convention and being on society's fringe. And the hardcore and punk scene have always been more receptive to social justice issues. I just don't see how so many metalheads will fail to see the connection, how bad it is and rebellious it is to go against the grain here and choose veganism. You might have a different view in this, but have you seen a shift in the thinking and behavior in regard to this from back in the day till today?
You know what? I would disagree that there's that much contrast between the metal and the punk scene. You know, in terms of veganism and other things. You know, metal gets a bad rap sometimes. Although I wouldn't personally consider myself a metalhead because I don't like being in these little boxes. You know, I like to just be me. You know, but I think metal has got a bad rap as being sometimes overly macho, ignorant, and you know, at various levels. But I've met some of the most compassionate people in that scene than I've ever met anywhere else. You know, so it's not always one thing. It's, you know, as we're talking about, like bands, scenes, they're a microcosm of the world outside. You know, there's varying experiences. So yeah, I mean, I would say on the whole, I've met loads of people who would consider themselves metalheads are also, you know, very, very aware of, you know, treating animals with dignity and such like. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that brings me some
Yeah.
hope. So this may be news to you, but we are a materialistic, disposable,
Yeah.
single-use society.
Yeah.
So this bothers me from a financial point of view, but really infuriates and saddens me more from an environmental and human cost perspective. I'm grateful I'm the type of person who doesn't care about trends or keeping up with the Joneses, and I'm not a slave to needing like that next big
No.
thing. So I always reuse everything. I carefully consider all my purchases. What do you do personally to combat this planned obsolescence?
Well, it's
made by
really simple.
manufacturers?
I don't overconsume. You know, you know how they always say that advertising can sell anything to anyone. I'm just paraphrasing,
Yeah.
but not for me.
Yeah, me neither.
I won't
yeah.
take something unless I need it. You know, that's the
But
point.
were we separated a person? You're a little bit
Yeah,
younger
yeah.
than me though, so
I
probably
mean, I
not,
just
yeah.
don't see the need. I just don't see the need in this constant kind of consumption. I mean, it's not doing anything, you know.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say. And
It's
you know, I don't want to
filling
say.
some weird void for people.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
What I don't want to do is go, yeah, well, you know, make myself out to be the champion of anti-consumerism. It's just not at all, you know. It's just, I think you can make considered choices or non-choices, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's absolutely possible, you know. You just have to step back a little bit and think about it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, humans just have such a herd mentality. They want to just be, you know, just like everybody else. It seems like people don't want to be an
Yeah.
individual and they don't want to stand out. Or I don't get it. Oh, do you want to take the next question?
Sure.
It's very bottom there.
Yeah, it's an important one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love bananas?
Oh well, it's fuel. It's fuel, man. You know, for pre-gig, it's absolutely essential for me. It actually doesn't feel quite complete unless unless I'm 45 minutes before I'm putting a banana down. You know, so yeah, it's great. Well, potassium in bananas, and it helps to stop cramps. You know, it helps to prevent cramps. You know, when you're fucking jumping around and stuff. So
You
it's
do a
it's
fair bit
essential.
of that, that's for sure.
You know, and you know, just as a side note, you know, the banana industry was not great, you know, like many years ago in terms of exploitation in the supply chain. It's got a lot better, I have to say, but there are still things that need to be ironed out in that respect. But yeah, the banana as an entity, go bananas, as I can say.
So according to non-vegans, all vegans are going to end up on the proverbial desert island along with a pig, right? So when that inevitably happens to you, could you pick one meal, if you could pick one meal for the rest of your life to eat? What
Oh God, on a desert island, it's got to be plantains, surely.
Oh,
plantains, you know, like fucking, how do you do it? Like bake them or fry them, you know. Like, you know
That's
what I'm
like a
talking about.
baby banana.
It's like like a harder, more hardy banana.
I see a theme developing
Those things
here,
are.
yeah.
But they don't taste, if you taste them when
Yeah,
in that form,
yeah.
as when they're fried in discs,
Oh.
like Caribbean food uses plantains, awesome. It doesn't taste like a banana
You're
at that
hungry,
point.
man.
Yeah.
We have a place that specializes in Toronto. Next time you're in town, we'll
Like Cuban
Toronto
food.
stuff.
Cuban food has a lot of plantains. Caribbean food. Oh, I love Caribbean, Jamaican food. If you ever had Jamaican vegan,
We have 2 of them in Toronto, not too far.
Fucking
Next time instead of
superb.
sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna end up at 600 big animals.
Ethiopian food as well. Shout out to Ethiopian food. Yeah, also very good, vegan friendly as well.
So I started sticking up for animals when I was just a toddler, and I talked about insects kind of holding a special place in my heart. And ever since I can remember, I've been wishing on birthday candles, shooting stars, and even back then I was wishing on turkey wishbones, so that was quite a cognitive dissonance, that people stop hurting animals. What's your wish when you blow out the candles on your cake? But you know, if you tell somebody, then
I would
take
just,
that chance.
mine would be quite a general view, because you'd have to go for the big ticket, you know.
Yeah.
It's got to be like, it's got to be just a better world. And I know that's a cliche, that's perhaps a terrible cliche.
Pretty good cliche.
Pretty good cliche, but it is
It's a
also
good
known as a
thing.
terrible. But I just think that there is a lot to be done, you know, a lot that can be done to improve the lot of all sentient beings, you know, and the planet that we live on, you know. I know that's a very, very general, almost generic point, but it's true.
Well,
you know?
considering what other people are wishing
Yeah.
for when they blow out the candles, that's
Yeah.
a pretty nice thing to
Because
wish
then
for.
we all benefit, not just one or two of us.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. So by the time we post this video, you'll have played and gone, but Napalm will be tearing people a collective new one at Rebel in Toronto tonight. I've already had a little peek at the set list from previous shows, but do you care to drop a crumb for us?
Yeah, it'll be that we've basically got 2 sets running on this one, so we flip-flop them just to give ourselves a bit of variety and give the kids a bit of variety as well, so it won't be the same every night. It's not that different, if I'm honest. It's just a couple of song differences, but yeah, there's something from every era of
I
Napalm.
noticed that. My
With
God, it went right.
But with a heavy,
back.
obviously leaning heavily on the latest 2 releases, yeah. So.
I just want to mention how humid it was today. I must tell you, I straightened my hair today, but with this humid weather, I could have given Shane a run for his money, because I rock a pretty respectable fro.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
This was your question. I was going to ask you what your
So you already answered
but you
it.
kind
You
of
see
already
this is in the
answered.
list.
Yeah.
But my favorite album, you know, they're all amazing in their own way. Each one, you know, but the ones that you got you to that in the first place is usually the ones you have the most emotional response to. And for me, my first Napalm was Utopia. So the minute that intro kicks in,
happening.
that's when I go into like hyper mode.
Yeah, the rawness of the guitars is pretty raw.
Yeah, the riffs there are just
the guitar sound, it took it kind of Slaughter-esque actually a little bit, you know.
Yeah, so I asked my husband what he said his favorite song is On the Brink of Extinction. He said it's also so apt these days.
Yeah.
And that he absolutely loves Harmony Corruption as an album.
Okay.
So we're very grateful that you sat down with us.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you so much, given your time and your
No.
world.
Oh, hey man, if I can't give people a little fraction of my time, then what's the world coming to?
And I read that you will sit, like you don't care if it's the biggest outfit or the little little guys.
You know, here's the thing. In the end, people don't have to talk to me about Napalm Death. They can go and talk to somebody else about something else. So for me to be ungrateful about that or not, or to blow it off, that's stupid. You know what I mean? So,
Guy, thank you.
well, you know.
So after we,
Pleasure's all
I'm going
mine.
to just do a really bad British accent and say, "Cheers, mate." No,
Not
that's
bad.
more Australian.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've heard worse.
My big moment, and I can't do Irish either.
Yeah.
My husband's Irish. Okay, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys.
My thanks to my friend Guy Kasimov, who not only sat in as co-host, but treated all of us to a big old platter of vegan sushi from 10 on.